The land never lies. Why did one phone call erase an entire valley overnight? Who gave them the right to decide that a pair of clean shoes mattered more than 1,000 livelihoods? If justice really existed, why was it always the poor who paid first? And if I was truly their biological daughter, why did no one look for me for 18 years? If I walked into that mansion as the real heiress, was I supposed to feel grateful? Or was I allowed to ask why my hometown was buried under bulldozers? Because I didn't come back to claim parents. I came back to collect a debt. My name is Lena Carter. I grew up in Redwood Hollow, a farming community tucked deep inside California's Central Valley. A place where summer heat cracked the soil, where winter winds sliced through your hands, and where people lived and died by the harvest of one thing: oranges. For 17 years, that land fed us. For 17 years, those trees paid for school books, medical bills, and funerals. And for 17 years, no one in Redwood Hollow ever imagined losing it all because of a phone call. Until a pair of ivory high heels stepped into the orchard. They didn't belong there. They were too clean, too sharp, too out of place. Their owner was a young woman wearing a white dress and designer sunglasses. Her phone was already in her hand. She frowned, spoke one sentence: "These oranges ruined my shoes." 3 hours later, the valley was gone. No notice, no compensation, no explanation. Bulldozers arrived before sunset. Trees were ripped from the ground like weeds. Men who had worked that land their entire lives fell to their knees begging. Children cried asking why the trees were being killed. And somewhere in the chaos, I heard a name for the first time: Blackridge Holdings. A real estate and environmental development giant based in Los Angeles. CEO, William Blackridge. 3 days later, a black SUV stopped in front of my wooden house. The man who stepped out wore an expensive suit, silver hair, the posture of someone used to being obeyed. He looked at me for a long time before speaking. "Are you Lena Carter?" I nodded. He exhaled slowly, like a man finding something he had misplaced. "I'm William Blackridge." I didn't ask who he was. I asked, "When are you paying for the orchard?" The wind blew hard that afternoon. His tie shifted slightly. And for the first time, I saw uncertainty cross a powerful man's face. He told me to come with him to Los Angeles. Told me I was his biological daughter. Told me there had been a mistake years ago. Told me I deserved a better life. I looked at his polished shoes, not a speck of dust on them, and asked again, "How much is Redwood Hollow worth to you?" That night, I packed my things. One canvas bag, a few clothes, and my dog. His name is Rusty. I found him on the side of the road when I was 10. A scrappy golden mutt with one torn ear. He had followed me home, so I kept him. I went door to door saying goodbye. Everyone knew why I was leaving. The village elder grabbed my hands. "Lena, don't let them break you." A farmer shook his head. "Rich people don't have hearts." I smiled. "I'm not going there to stay." "Then why go?" I knelt and scratched Rusty's head. "I'm going to get the money." The car pulled away. Redwood Hollow disappeared behind us. I never looked back. Inside the SUV, William Blackridge laid out 3 rules. First, I was not allowed to publicly reveal my identity. Second, I was not allowed to expel Claire Blackridge, the girl currently living as his daughter. Third, I was not allowed to compete for affection. I listened quietly, then asked, "What about compensation?" He said, "We'll discuss that later." I nodded. Fine. The Blackridge estate sat in Beverly Hills. Tall gates, perfect lawns, a place so sterile it felt unreal. Rusty ran one circle, stopped, and looked at me, tongue out, unimpressed. I understood. It was smaller than our hills. The living room was bright, cold, and full of people. A woman in a beige silk dress rushed forward, tears already forming. "My daughter, you're home." Her name was Evelyn Blackridge, the woman who gave birth to me. According to William, beside her stood a girl, beautiful, delicate. eyes glistening with fear. Claire Blackridge. And a young man in a tailored suit. Arrogance carved into his face. Nathan Blackridge. Before I spoke, Claire started crying. Mom, I'm scared. Evelyn pulled her close. You'll always be my daughter. Nathan added. She's my only sister. All three of them looked at me like I didn't belong. I bent down, adjusted my worn sneakers, and walked Rusty out into the garden. Not because I was weak, but because I refused to listen. Rusty ran in circles, stopped, stuck his tongue out. I nodded. Yeah, not even close to home. When I returned, William was seated. His warmth from earlier was gone. Did you forget the rules already? I set my bag down. Rusty lay at my feet. I haven't broken any. Then why are you acting like an outsider? Because I am. Nathan scoffed. Do you even know who you're talking to? If you're asking who I am, I said calmly. I'm the person your family owes money to. Evelyn frowned. You came home to talk about money? Why else would I come? She glanced at Rusty with disgust. That filthy dog doesn't belong in this house. Get rid of it tomorrow. I stroked Rusty's head, then looked up. No. William hesitated. I said you could bring the dog. Nathan laughed. He only said that to lure you back. I nodded. So, that's called lying. I stood up, pulled a thick stack of papers from my bag, and placed them on the table. Let's talk about the real reason I'm here. Compensation for Redwood Hollow. The room went silent. Nathan grabbed the papers, flipped 2 pages. His face drained of color. Are you insane? $132 million? He slammed them onto the table. Evelyn screamed. You ungrateful girl. Our family gives you everything. And you dare demand money? I didn't look at her. I looked straight at Claire. Tears rolled down her cheeks on cue. Lena, it's my fault. I didn't mean to. I smiled faintly. Whether you meant to or not, a court will decide. William stood abruptly. We don't owe you anything. I replied calmly. Then I'll prove that you do. Outside the window, the California sunset burned red, the same color as the soil the day the orchard was destroyed. And in that moment, I knew no one in this house would walk away untouched. I didn't sleep that night, not because I was afraid, but because Rusty wouldn't stop growling. He lay in front of my bedroom door, body stiff, ears low, throat rumbling in a way I'd only heard a few times in my life. Back in Redwood Hollow, he only did that when coyotes came too close. This wasn't a coyote. I sat up slowly, didn't turn on the lights, and listened. The hallway outside was quiet. Too quiet. Then soft footsteps. Careful. Measured. They stopped right in front of my door. Rusty's growl deepened. Whoever it was stood there for several seconds. Long enough for my heartbeat to slow, long enough for them to decide. Then the footsteps retreated. By morning, the house acted like nothing had happened. At breakfast, William announced his decision without looking at me. You'll be transferring to Westbridge International Academy. Claire's school. Evelyn smiled instantly. Good. She needs to learn manners. Nathan leaned back in his chair, amused. My sister's friends are all elites. This will be educational for you. I tied my shoelaces slowly and said nothing. Rusty wasn't allowed inside the campus buildings, so I left him at the security booth near the gate. The guard was an older man with sunburned skin and tired eyes. He friendly? He asked. He's smarter than most people, I replied. The man chuckled and poured Rusty a bowl of water. I'll keep an eye on him. The moment I walked through the gates of Westbridge, I felt it. Eyes. Not curious eyes. Not welcoming ones. Judging eyes. I stood out immediately. Canvas sneakers. A faded backpack. No designer logo anywhere on me. Claire arrived surrounded by people. Perfect uniform, hair pinned just right. Smile soft and apologetic. This is my sister, Lena, she said gently. She just transferred from a rural area. The pause was deliberate. A blonde girl beside her, Madison Reed, laughed under her breath. Oh, that explains the shoes. I pulled out my chair and sat down. Throughout the day, things happened by accident. Milk spilled across my notebook. Trash appeared in my desk. Whispers followed me through the halls. Claire always spoke last. "Please don't be like that," she'd say quietly. "She's new. She's trying." And every time she said it, the bullying got worse. I didn't react. Not once. I wasn't there to belong. I wasn't there to win popularity. I was there to wait. 2 weeks later, the school announced a full-grade assessment exam. The rumors spread fast. "She probably doesn't even know how to use the testing software. If she's not dead last, I'll eat my textbook." On exam day, I finished early. 30 minutes early. I put my head down and slept. Laughter rippled behind me. Claire glanced over, pity flickering in her eyes, followed by something colder. Satisfaction. When results were posted, I wasn't even planning to look. I was heading for another hallway when I heard someone suck in a sharp breath. Then silence. Not awkward silence. Shock. A hand grabbed my arm and dragged me forward. The crowd parted. At the very top of the list, Lena Carter, rank 1. Scores so high they didn't just beat the second place, they humiliated it. Madison stared at the board like she was seeing a ghost. Claire stood frozen behind me, knuckles white. That night, the Blackridge dining room felt different. William read my score report 3 times. Evelyn didn't say a word. Nathan didn't smirk. I knew what that meant. I was no longer disposable. But I was still a threat. And threats don't get ignored. They get eliminated. The annual Westbridge chemistry competition was announced. Shortly after, the winner would earn recommendation points for top universities and a national science credential. Claire needed that win. The competition required teams of 2. That afternoon, Claire approached my desk. "Lena," she said softly, "let's partner up." I looked up. "Why?" "You're strong in theory," she replied. "I'm good with lab work. Together, we'd be unbeatable." I nodded. "Fine." Her eyes flickered. Just for a second. Excitement. Relief. From that day on, I carried a fountain pen with me everywhere. It looked ordinary. It wasn't. The preparation phase went smoothly. Almost too smoothly. Until the afternoon before the competition. We were in the lab, reviewing final data. Claire pressed a hand to her forehead. "I'm dizzy. I need to go to the nurse." She left Madison behind to help me. I continued adjusting the chemical ratios. Madison leaned closer. "Hey, the measurement line on that beaker looks off," she said. "Let me check." I bent forward. Behind me, a soft click. The unmistakable sound of a memory card being removed. I didn't turn around. When I finally did, the data slot was empty. "Where's the card?" I asked calmly. Madison stammered. I don't know. It was there earlier." Right then, Claire returned. "What happened?" she asked, eyes wide with concern. "My data card is gone." Claire gasped. "How could that happen?" Then she turned sharply to Madison. "Did you take it?" she demanded. "Were you jealous that I partnered with her?" Madison froze. "Claire, what are you talking about?" Teachers rushed in. Claire cried while explaining. Each sentence sounded protective. Every implication pointed at me. Result: disqualification. Claire became the tragic victim. I became the careless liability. That night, I locked my door, sat on the bed, and pressed the button on my pen. Static crackled. Then voices. "Are you sure the cameras don't see this?" Claire whispered. "Relax," Madison replied. "She's from nowhere. No one will believe her. Take the data card. I'll handle the rest." I closed my eyes. I didn't expose them. Not yet. Because a chemistry competition wasn't enough. What I wanted was interest. After the chemistry competition incident, no one mentioned it again. Not at school. Not at home. And that silence told me everything. Claire walked around like a saint who had forgiven the world. Teachers praised her maturity. Students whispered about how she'd been wronged for the greater good. At home, Evelyn looked at me with open disappointment. Nathan didn't bother hiding his contempt anymore. Only William changed. He started watching me. Not like a father. Like a businessman evaluating a risk. That was when I knew the next move wouldn't happen in a classroom. It would happen at Blackridge Holdings. One evening, during dinner, William finally spoke. The state government is opening bids for a large-scale environmental redevelopment project, he said calmly. Central Valley land restoration. Long-term sustainability. He paused. This project will define the company's direction for the next decade. Evelyn straightened instantly. That's perfect for Claire. Nathan nodded. She's been preparing for this kind of exposure. William tapped his fork lightly against the plate. To be fair, he said, I want both girls to submit proposals. Evelyn froze. Nonsense. This isn't a school project. Nathan frowned. Dad, I've decided, William cut in. 2 proposals. We'll choose the better one. Claire reacted exactly how I expected. She smiled graciously. That's fair, she said. I'd love to see what my sister can do. Her tone was humble. Her eyes were calculating. I set my fork down. Fine. To them, my agreement sounded like arrogance. To me, it sounded like permission. Over the next few weeks, I disappeared into my room. I didn't study financial projections or corporate buzzwords. I didn't dress my proposal in fancy graphics. I pulled out maps of Redwood Hollow, soil composition, rainfall cycles, crop rotation records handwritten by old farmers who never went to college. I built a closed-loop agricultural ecosystem. Not theory. Practice. Water reuse. Soil regeneration. Economic. Sustainability tied directly to the land. This wasn't a proposal. It was restitution. I encrypted every file. Layered passwords. Offline backups. Still, I underestimated desperation. One night, Rusty snapped awake. Low growl. Sharp. He planted himself in front of my door. I didn't turn on the light. I moved quietly and looked through the crack. Across the hallway, Claire's door was open. A shadow slipped back inside. The next morning, I invited a Blackridge IT technician to check my computer. Within minutes, he found the log. An unauthorized USB access at 2:41 a.m. The exact time Rusty had growled. I told him to erase the trace. Pretend you never saw it, I said. He hesitated, then nodded. 3 days later, Claire announced she was done. Her presentation took place in William's private office. I didn't attend. I listened. Brilliant, William said, his voice full of pride. This is groundbreaking. Nathan added. Agricultural sustainability combined with profit modeling. This is genius. Claire laughed softly. I just researched a few international case studies and adapted them. I leaned against the wall. Smiling. She had stolen the shell, not the soul. The press conference was scheduled a week later. Blackridge Holdings spared no expense. Media, investors, government representatives. Claire was positioned as the future of the company. I was seated in the back row, out of frame. Claire stepped onto the stage, flawless. She spoke with confidence. Displayed slides copied word for word from my proposal. Applause followed every section. Nathan turned around once, looking at me with open mockery. William took the stage. My daughter's vision, he announced, represents the future of environmental responsibility. He raised the microphone to finalize the decision. That's when I stood. A ripple went through the room. Evelyn's face drained of color. Sit down, she hissed. I didn't. I walked straight to the stage. Cameras turned. William faltered. I faced Claire. Nice presentation, I said calmly. You just rushed the theft. Her smile cracked. What are you talking about? You copied the structure, I continued. But you forgot the core data. She laughed nervously. You're making accusations. I handed a flash. Drive to the technician. Play this. The screen changed. My full proposal appeared. Detailed. Deep. Alive. Then, audio. Claire's voice. Relax. No one will believe her. Once the data's gone, she's finished. The room exploded. Reporters surged forward. Flashes blinded the stage. Claire swayed. Evelyn screamed her name. Nathan tried to block the cameras. Too late. Claire collapsed. I stepped away from the chaos. Rusty waited outside, tail wagging. I knelt and scratched behind his ears. The hunt was over. But the reckoning had just begun. The fallout was immediate. By the time I reached the driveway, my phone was vibrating nonstop. News alerts stacked on top of each other like falling dominoes. Blackridge Holdings plunges after. Public scandal. Corporate heiress accused of theft and academic fraud. Environmental project suspended pending investigation. Inside the mansion, the silence was suffocating. Not the calm kind. The kind that follows an explosion. Claire was taken away by her personal physician. Whether it was exhaustion or strategy didn't matter anymore. Her name was already everywhere. Evelyn locked herself in her bedroom. Nathan paced the living room, jacket off, tie undone, face pale with rage and fear tangled together. William Blackridge sat alone in his study, staring at the television as analysts dissected his company like a corpse on a stainless steel table. By market close, Blackridge Holdings had lost nearly 40% of its valuation. That night, no one called me to dinner. Just before midnight, there was a knock on my door. William didn't sit when he entered. He looked smaller than before. Older. Not broken, but wounded. "What do you want?" he asked quietly. I didn't answer immediately. I watched him the way he had watched me since I arrived, not as a daughter, but as a variable. Finally, he spoke again. "I can transfer the Malibu property into your name," he said. 15% company shares. Immediate vesting. I said nothing. "I'll arrange a press conference," he continued. "I'll say this was a misunderstanding between siblings. Internal conflict. Nothing criminal." He swallowed. "Claire will leave the country. You'll never see her again." He believed this was generosity. I stood and walked to the window, looking out over the manicured lawn that had never known drought, never known loss. "You don't understand," I said. William frowned. "Then explain it to me." "This isn't about what I want," I said calmly. "It's about what you owe." He stiffened. "Redwood Hollow," I continued. "You erased it with a phone call. That land wasn't yours," I interrupted. "And it fed hundreds of families for generations." I turned back to him. "You think money buys silence. You think power resets consequences." I shook my head. "You're wrong." William's jaw tightened. "You're destroying everything I built." "No," I replied. "I'm letting it face what it built over." The next morning, Evelyn tried a different approach. She brought breakfast to my room. Real food this time. No staff. No silver trays. "Lena," she said softly, setting the plate down. I was wrong. I didn't move. "I let fear make me cruel," she continued. "I chose comfort over truth." She reached for my hand. I stepped back. "I don't need apologies," I said. "I need accountability." Her face collapsed. Later that day, Nathan stood outside my door. "You win," he said flatly. "Name your price." I looked at him. "That's the problem," I replied. "You still think this is a transaction." On the third day, William called me back into the study. This time, there were no offers. Just exhaustion. "Tell me," he said, voice stripped of authority. "What ends this?" I took the compensation report from my bag and placed it on the desk. $132 million. I said. "Full restitution for Redwood Hollow." He nodded once. "And," I continued, "Blackridge Holdings will fully fund an ecological agricultural restoration project in that valley. Not branding. Not PR. Ownership remains with the community," I added. "Your company provides capital and infrastructure. Nothing else." William closed his eyes. "For how long?" he asked. "As long as the land needs," I replied. Silence stretched between us. Finally, he exhaled. "Done." 2 days later, the funds were transferred. I packed my canvas bag. Rusty waited at the door, tail wagging like he'd known all along. In the living room, William, Evelyn, and Nathan stood together. There was resentment. There was regret. But there was no love. I didn't say goodbye. There was nothing left to say. The gates opened. Sunlight flooded the driveway. I knelt beside Rusty. "Let's go home," I said. 1 year later, I stood on a hill overlooking Redwood Hollow. The valley was alive again. Greenhouses stretched across land that had once been bare. Solar-powered irrigation systems hummed softly. Farmers checked data on tablets instead of guessing the weather. Rusty raced down the slope, barking at the wind. The village elder handed me an orange from the first restored harvest. "Land remembers," he said. "If you treat it right, it gives back." I peeled the orange. The scent was sharp and sweet. Perfect. My phone buzzed with one final notification. Blackridge Holdings announces major restructuring amid ongoing investigations. I turned the screen off. What happened to them no longer mattered. The debt was paid. The land was breathing again. And for the first time since the orchard fell, I slept without listening for bulldozers. The end.